Hello folks, welcome back to GingerLion's modded Minecraft Let's Play. I'm on episode 17. If you remember last time, I put in my AE's ME system. Yes, while you were gone, I ran a little wire up there and decided it was time to move over my barrels and change how they're handled. So, the first thing that I need to do is to make myself some deep storage units. Basically, the deep storage unit allows me to hold, whereas a barrel allows me to hold 64 stacks, which, if I'm correct, let me go over here and get the number off the barrel just so that we're 100%. It looks like about 8,000. Deep storage unit allows me to hold 3 billion. So it's a little bit more efficient in terms of storage purposes. And I decided I needed to do it relatively quickly because I moved my barrel over there. And now I'm getting all of my cobblestone poured into my system. So what I need to do, I need to smelt up raw rubber. I'm going to use all 4 furnaces just to get this done as quickly as possible. Raw rubber gets smelted up into rubber bars, which I'm going to have to come over here to my AE system to get. There they are, beginning to pour in. Now I'm just going to grab some so that we can move forward. When you take raw rubber and you put it in a furnace, what you get is raw plastic, which is the goal that I'm going for right now. So, hoping this will process relatively quickly. In fact, I'm going to take this off camera so that we can jump cut right to it. As soon as this is all done, I will be right back and we will make ourselves, once I have raw plastic in my hands, which is what I need to get to, we will move forward to make our deep storage units. Okay, folks, all of that should be finished. And there's my raw plastic. So I'm going to turn that into plastic sheets because, if I'm correct, there's I could use it to make upgrades later, but I don't need anything upgraded right now. So let's go ahead and convert it into raw plastic sheets. I think that should be enough. I'll leave this for later. So, deep storage units are going to require factory. Now, I get 4 of these out of each recipe, so I'm going to make a couple. We'll see. I need these factory machine blocks. I have some smooth stone that I took out of that barrel, so let's go ahead and make some of this. Let's see. That's more than enough of those. And then I need Eye of Enders. So let's make a stack of them. I use Eye of Enders occasionally, and there's no reason for me not to have them. So let's see how many of these that I make. 32 is more than enough for my purposes. Now, I'm about to use another item that you guys haven't seen before, but its recipe is really simple. It's that machine interface we made, a cable, and some iron ingots. I made up some earlier. So, let's see how this unit works. So basically, I'm going to take it and place it down, and it can store, well, basically anything. The moment what I'm going to have it store is cobblestone. When I open this up and put cobblestone in it, in its input, it stores it here. If I add more cobblestone to it, it says stored 64, shown 64. Well, okay, so that's exactly what I'd like this unit to do. Let me connect it to my network, and tell this to automatically configure. Now, these 2 devices connect to each other very well. That's why I'm using them. So it knows that it's supposed to store cobblestone in here automatically. It's set to both directional mode, and I set the priority to 64. The reason for that is this. I want all of my cobblestone to go here, and so I set it as the highest priority location. Now, when I connect it to the network, any cobblestone that I have, which I have quite a lot of, should theoretically begin being stored over here. So now, let me make sure. 98, 99, see, it's ticking up. And I would really like to make that happen much faster. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take an export bus. Again, this is an item you haven't seen yet. Well, let me show you how to make it really quick. The recipe for the export bus is a gold processor on a basic export bus, which is machine interface, a piston, and a cable. Nothing particularly complicated there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the side of this, and I'm going to tell it that I would like you to export cobblestone in stacks. Now, you'll notice this number began dialing up much more rapidly. That's good because I'm about to add a whole lot more cobblestone to the network. Now, note the amount of cobblestone that's stored in my network is still listed as the same amount because this machine knows how to interface with the ME network, and so the ME network says, oh, this is cobblestone that's stored here on the ME network. Good. Now, what I want, I probably don't have enough cable. Let me put some of the stuff back since I'm done making these and those and this. I'm going to use more of these, but let me grab some cable. Nice to have a stack. And let me grab an import bus. The recipe for these, I can't show you the recipe while I'm looking in the ME system, unfortunately. But the recipe for these is, again, a gold processor on an import bus, which is a sticky piston with a machine interface. So, if I'm correct, I should be able to connect to these and tell it to move stacks. Oh, it doesn't look like that will work. Let me try, because I do not know exactly how barrels are allowed to interact with the ME network. It's one of the reasons I'm not using barrels for my storage purposes. They do not react as well as one might hope from an ME network. So let me try the top. Let's see if I can import from the top. Nope, it doesn't look like that number is counting down any. Let's try from the bottom. This is one of the advantages of having a gravity gun easily available. Yep, there we go. So I have to put barrels on top of an import for it to pull from it. But here we are. Now I'm pulling all the items out of this barrel and feeding them into this deep storage unit, and I'm not storing any of it on my various drives, so I'm not using up space in my ME system simply to be able to store all this cobblestone. So, now, once this is done, it'll take just a little bit longer. You notice it's moving them stacks at a time like I had requested. After this, now I can remove this precision export bus. I no longer need it. And I can remove this barrel because it's no longer a useful thing to me. Now, what I need to do is begin setting up more of these storage buses and deep storage units for all the rest of these items. So I'm going to do that off camera, and we'll be right back when you see what I'm done. Hello, folks. So, I've got all of my barrels replaced with deep storage units, and then I did a little bit of looking into what's going on my actual storage system and came to a conclusion. I have sandstone that I should put in one of those. I also think that I should put iron, Venetium dust, blue topaz, copper, shimmerite, moss stone, and basically I'm gonna go right down here through lapis, and that gives me 11 more items that I would like to put in deep storage units. So let me just quickly run you through the process that I use to put down a new set of deep storage units. So I'm going to put in 2 real quickly. This deep storage unit I think I'm going to put blue topaz in, and this one I'm going to put sandstone in. And so then I take them and I connect them. I shift right click on the top of this item and on the bottom of this one, and then I click with my hand. I tell it to import the configuration, and I set the priority to 64. That'll suck all the items out of my storage drives into here. Once again, import config plus 64. Now, the moment there's only 2 in here, but as soon as the network updates, which does take it a couple of seconds, see, there's 4. It's beginning to trickle items in here. And that's fine. I don't need it to operate very quickly. I would just like to get all of my items that I don't need out of my network and into these deep storage units. So let's go ahead and make a couple more. When I place these wrong, all it takes is a right click with a wrench to get it configured correctly. Import configuration, priority 64. Import configuration, priority 64. What's the priority 64 for? Well, first, this drive array is set as a priority 1. This one is as well. Anything with a higher priority takes priority, which means that things will want to store in here rather than be stored on the drives over here. If you'll note, this number is slowly ticking up. This one hasn't yet. That's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. These haven't updated at all. That's fine. Again, these items will, when the network has plenty of free time, go ahead and do that. Well, the network is busy importing a huge amount of stuff from my quarry. That's all being fed over here into these deep storage units. So that, for example, I now have 13,000 cobble. That's not just shy of twice how much could fit in one of those expanded barrels I was using. Okay, well, I'm perfectly fine with it taking time to store that rather than it being stored on my storage drives. So I'm just going to configure these the way that I want them and trust that the network is going to do what it wants to, and in a little while I'll check up on it and make sure that it is. So again, the priority 64 is to make sure that the things that get put in here are high priority. The priority is to go ahead and put them on these instead of on my drives. Also, if, for example, I decide that I think, so by the way, I checked. It's 2 billion, not 3 billion. But if I decide that 2 billion is enough stone, what I will do is I will set up a trash can like I had set up over here, and I will set it to priority 63. That will mean that when the priority 64 device, this deep storage unit, is completely full, the system will move to begin using the priority 63 storage item rather than storing cobblestone on this priority 1 drive. So that will ensure that this gets filled with cobblestone and the rest of the cobblestone gets thrown away in the trash. This seems like a great plan. So let me step off camera and finish making a couple more of these. I may continue a little bit further. You know, I actually think I'm going to expand upwards rather than continuing to use up the entire side wall of my base. So anyway, I will be back with you guys in just a little bit. Okay, there we go, folks. So I've set up deep storage units for almost everything that's listed in my system, even up through items that I'm only storing about 500 of. In this case, I'm only 300 of. That allows me to make sure that my drives have very little on them, and most of what's there is, you know, the things that I'm only going to have a dozen of, or 5 of, or 50 of. This also ensures that I'm going to be able to store plenty of cobblestone or dirt or for any other purposes that I might need to move to. Also, remember I told you I ran a line up there? I want to go show you what I put up there just because it's pretty nifty. And also, it's really nice to see this room cleaned up a little bit. There you go. This room is all nice and neat. And over here in the corner, we have what we've already seen, the ME Access Terminal. Which allows me to grab any items that I want out of my ME system. Below this is the ME Crafting Terminal. And let me show you the recipe for that. The ME Crafting table looks like this. And it works just like any crafting grid. For example, if I would like to make, let me just clear this and say that I would like to make a planks. If I would like to make, now I'm just going to make a furnace. It's much easier. So if I want to make a furnace, click, shift click, you'll note it filled in the items here. What it's actually doing is saying that out of the AE system, all I have to do is click here, and I will get cobblestone out of here, which will make me a furnace. This allows me to craft using the items that are in my ME system, as opposed to having to extract them individually. Now let me show you the recipe for it, just because there's no point in me making all these things if you have no idea how to make them yourself. Let me apply energistics, shift click, there we are. And my ME crafting terminal? Where is it? I know it's right there on the screen and I'm just not seeing it because my brain's clear. So let's do this. There we are. There's the crafting terminal. And it's an access terminal just like we had below, a storage cell and a crafting table. Now I also, the reason I keep getting stuck on this, I made myself a crafting monitor. Really, this is just a basic processor and a cable. What this is for is later on, once I start using the ME system to automatically craft things, this will show me what's currently being crafted, what's missing, what jobs are going on. This allows me to better manage my ME construction process, which I haven't set up yet, but I will be at some point. Note, I also cleaned up my logistics network here. There was a lot of stuff that was just for barrels, so I sorted that all out. So there we are. There is the configuration and installation of a very basic ME applied energistics storage network, and to me this allows me to much more cleanly and easily manage my storage and my equipment so that I can move on to larger projects without feeling like I've got cluttered chests or have to dig through a lot of stuff to get things working. So now what am I going to move on to? Well, we had some of those plastic sheets left over. Here's some plastic sheets and some raw plastic left over, and I think that it's time for me to go and, oh, by the way, I put a crafting terminal down here as well. If I think that it's time for us to take a look at the, is it factors? No, it's not factorization. My brain keeps trying to store it as factorization, but no. What's the plastic from? Minefactory Reloaded. Now, Minefactory Reloaded is a mod that really has to do with the factories and production processes. It's got a planter that allows you to plant plants, which I'm about to use, a harvester, which allows me to harvest those planted plants, and a fertilizer, which allows me to deliver fertilizer to those plants. Between the three of those, I'm going to use them to build a couple of farms to get me food so that I don't have to keep running back to that village nearby for food. Tree farms, specifically. I would like to, they're called stained saplings. You'll note that I have blue, black, lime, pink, white, orange, light blue, green, red, and cyan stained saplings. I would like to set up a farm that allows me to farm those, because in most cases I can use these saplings instead of dyes in any recipes that call for dyes. And so to me, setting up a factory setting up some Minefactory Reloaded farms that grow these specific saplings will get me wood, as a wonderful byproduct for getting me lots of these saplings, which I'll then be able to use in various recipes that call for dye. So let me get started, folks, and I will come right back to you. Welcome back, folks. So I think I'm about ready to get started. So let's get the first pieces of machinery built. First, I'm going to need a planter. Planter is the thing that's going to do the planting work. That's going to require some pistons, the factory machine block, which I already made, flower pots. These are new. They're simply bricks. So let's see, I need 2 of them. Craft them, toss them in my AE system, and see if I can build my planter. Yep. Okay. That is the planter. That's going to go at the bottom center. Now, I already made some upgrades. You can see the recipes are plastic, gold, the gold nugget. Relatively easy to do. I'm going to need 3 of them because I'm going to have 3 machines. And they all need to be the same in terms of upgrades. What other machines am I going to have? Well, the first thing I need is a fertilizer. That's going to apply fertilizer to the plants. Easy enough to make. And finally, I need the harvester that's going to do the actual harvesting. Now, just a moment. Sorry. Now, that looks like it's going to take 2 sets of shears. Let me make these 2 and toss them into the system. And it's going to take a golden axe. So let's see if I have sticks. I do. I can toss that into the system. And let's see if the harvester can be made now. Yep, there we are. So we have the 3 machines that we need. The planter, the harvester, and the fertilizer. Now, I went ahead and ran a line from my AE system down to floor 31 where I intend to do my work. And I did a little bit of layout over here in this corner, because that's where I intend to build, of where I need my blocks to be. So, let's start with placing the planter. Now, since I can drop down into bat form, it seems to me that it's perfectly reasonable for me to build this right on the deck. So let's go ahead and place the planter. Now, what the planter needs is it needs a filter, which tells it what it's going to grow in each of its spaces. It needs an upgrade, and it needs power and items. Well, that's reasonable. So, the next thing that we need now, and we're going to build a layer of dirt over the top of this, which is where it's going to do all of its growing. Which means that if I want to fertilize things, I need to fertilize them on the layer that the plant is, which means the fertilizer and, frankly, the harvester both need to go on top of those pillars. So, and I want to make sure they're facing the right way, but I haven't done this in a while, so you're probably going to see me mess it up. So here's the fertilizer. Obviously that didn't place where I wanted it to. Let's see if these react to a wrench. I believe that they do. Yep, shift right click picks it up just like anything else. So now, and again. And let's see if the third time is the charm. Yep, now I placed it, but you'll notice it's facing away from me. So let me right-click twice with a wrench, and now it's facing where I intend my plants to be, which makes me think that if I take this harvester and I place it like so. Yep. Okay, so now all 3 of these machines are theoretically placed toward the field. Now, I need a field, and I need items. So, how exactly is this going to work? Well, first, I need to make sure that this fertilizer gets fertilizer. And so I am going to connect it to an item duct, because it seems to me that that's going to be the most reasonable way for me to make sure that my devices function. I could theoretically do all of the work with ME cabling, but the ME network is pretty expensive in terms of materials construction, and so I think it's much easier for me to just work with item ducts here on the factory floor. Now, that's a personal choice, but it's what I intend to do. Now, the next machine is our harvester, and what I want it to do is So, sheer leaves. So what this would do is make leaf blocks. That's not what I want. I really do want the saplings. In fact, the saplings are why I'm building this entire farm. So I'm going to leave that on no. And I don't have to worry about jungle wood or small shrooms. All should be well in that direction. It's going to need to export items. So let me see if I'm correct. Yep, let's do it this way. Those are out. Now, a lot of the items that it produces are going to end up going right back in here into my planter. So that should work just fine. Now, I'm going to put down a chest. And what I'm going to do with the chest is this. I'm going to feed it from the AE network. And I want some things to end up going into it, but only after I've completely refilled my planter. So, I'm going to make those two red. What that means is this. Any leaves, any saplings coming out of the harvester that can go into my planter are going to do so. Because these segments of red pipe are count as 1,000 pipes away, and item ducks prefer to go to the closest route. So this is going to strongly prefer to send anything that it gets. It's going to try to send it to the planter, and only if it can't is it going to send it over here to this chest. Now, I'm also going to pull items out of this chest and send them over here. But I only want to send fertilizer, which means I need to switch this to send, and I don't have any fertilizer yet to fill, but I'm going to come in here and set this to filter to fertilizer. So let me go get a couple of things that I need from upstairs. First, I'm going to need all my saplings. I'm going to need some energy conduit. Let's get these in order. Let's see. I need an import and an export bus. Those I'll keep in my inventory. Not going to need any more of that. Probably not going to need any more of those or that. Likely I'm good in those directions. Okay. So, now I need... Now, my planter can only handle 8 colors of sapling. So let's see, what do I want the most? Red, black, orange, lime, pink, white. Green is always useful, and so is blue. Now, I'm only going to get a couple of plants of each one of these, but everything should be fine. Now, I need redstone energy conduit, and I'm going to take a bunch of it just to make sure. And I need fertilizer. Now, let me, yeah, I think that should do just what I want done. Wait, there is one more difficulty. Let me check something. Let me check something on the wiki, and I'll be right back. Okay, folks, I did remember something about the harvester for Minefactory Reloaded producing a substance called sludge, which can be used in various purposes, but I don't really want to deal with it. So, here's what I intend to do. I intend to make a void fluid pipe, which is made from a void transport pipe, which come in groups of 8, and that's fine. I'm going to toss them in here. And pipe sealant, which, let's see if I can make pipe sealant. Yes, I can. So, now, I should be able to make a void fluid pipe, and hopefully that's all I need, but let me just to be sure, let's look at... a wooden fluid pipe. That's a wooden pipe, which are easy to make, and I don't have any more pipe sealant, but I can make more. There we go. Okay, that'll make sure that I can resolve this problem with sludge that I don't really want to deal with right now. Down here to 31. Now, this machine needs power, that machine needs power, and this machine needs to deal with its little sludge problem. So I think I'm going to rearrange this just a little bit. Let's remove that and that. Let's put my opaque item duct in here. It needs to be switched to output. It needs that servo put back in it. It needs to be set to ignore. There. All is well in that direction. Now, will the void fluid pipe will connect directly, so I think that will handle all of our fluid related issues. Now it's a matter of power. Now, I want this to whitelist fertilizer, because fertilizer is the only thing that I particularly care about going out that direction. And now it can be turned on. Now, let's go ahead and connect things to my AE system. Now, I need to export to this. See, that did not point in the right direction. Give me my wrench. There's my wrench. Done. This is going to move. Yes, this is going to be always active, and it's going to export. It's not going to work like I want it to. I'm going to need another chest. Looks like I'm going to need two separate chests for this purpose. I had originally intended on one, but that's fine. They are not a rare commodity of any kind. So, grab another chest. Grab 22, apparently. Okay, now, let's do this again. Let's go ahead and assume that this is going to be my input chest. So, here, wrench time. You get picked up, you get picked up. So, this is going to hold my exported fertilizer. This is just really to get fertilizer to my system. And again, I'm just trying to reduce the amount of extra ME cable that I run and extra ME devices of any kind. So now, let's see if that works. I don't think it will, not without, yeah, I thought so. I need to put a servo in here. And then I need to ignore. So now this will suck from here. It's going to pull fertilizer. It's going to feed it down this conduit, and it's going to fill this up with fertilizer. That's just fine. That's exactly what I want it to do. Now this, on the other hand, is going to be my import bus. Oh. There we are. And it's going to import anything that ends up in here. Okay. Let's see if this filled up like it was supposed to. Yep, plenty of fertilizer. Now we need power. And now, because I intend to set up other things in this room, I'm going to run the power through the walls. That's going to involve dealing with some of this here. Sand, gravel, whatever. There. Easy enough. And run it right at floor level. Okay. Now, this will bring power from my existing power distribution system over here to operate these various devices. Now, for the moment, these devices can't really do anything. They don't have anything to work on. But that's fine, because relatively soon I'm going to come over here and put up a field, and then we can do something quite useful with them. So now let's feed this thing power from this side. That seems reasonable. And now, I need to run power out to the center anyway, and over there, and I think I can shorten up the leads by doing it this way. Just trying to reduce the total number of power cables that I need to do this job. After all, they're not a free resource. And there should be power to all of my devices. Let me eat a little bit of bread. I should have brought plenty of dirt down when I came down, but I did not. Now, this has power and nothing to operate on. So let's see. I am going to... That has power and is operating. This has power and is operating. Now it's time to build a field. I'm going to bring 2 stacks of dirt up, just so that I have enough. I think dirt is in this deep storage, so I'll just bypass the system completely and do that. Now, let's build our field. Now, because I put gold, I think I've got the size of all of this correct. So 1, that should be the exact size that this field needs to be. So that marks the center. Am I correct? That needs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then... Okay, folks. So now you can see the outline of the field that I'm going to lay out. I'm also going to go get myself some glow bricks so that I can get some light in it. And clearly I'm going to need more than the 2 stacks of dirt that I brought. So I'll be right back once I've got this all laid out. Okay, folks. So there you go. I now have 1 field built and ready to roll. Now, let's go see how I configure it. This is going to be a little bit hard for some of these. In fact, I'm going to have a specific problem with the blue stained sapling. But let's start with the white. I put a white sapling there and place a couple here. What happens? It goes ahead and places them in that portion of the grid above it. So let's see. Black stained saplings, red stained saplings, green stained saplings, pink, lime. Now clearly I have a blue that I intend to put there, and I can go get one more color. What I'm going to do with the blue is this, because I happen to know, obviously, this system does the harvesting and the fertilizing very efficiently. I'm going to manually plant a blue sapling here, and hope that the system tears it down very quickly, well, builds it and tears it down very quickly, so that I can get those leaves. Now, you'll notice these aren't growing spectacularly tall. That's because there's, a limited amount of ceiling space here. And it looks like it can't tell the difference between the various colors of stained saplings. Let me see if that's true. Yep, it looks like it can't tell the difference. So it's just going to plant a mishmash of them, depending on what it gets from here. Let me make sure nothing's getting sent down here that I don't want to. No? No. Not sure how well the harvester is doing in terms of... Oh, there we go. There's the harvester tearing up trees. Now, I'm concerned that this might receive... No, it's only receiving... Oh, hey look, and I had included orange saplings with the intent of them being included in the distribution. So now hopefully the only things being sent down there at the moment are wood. And that's just fine. So now, you see we have a mishmash of various planted saplings up here. If I had picked something more unique, it wouldn't be an issue, but unfortunately I'm going to break this blue stained sapling and put it, I'd like it to be separate from all the others to make sure that we get plenty of leaves out of it. In fact, rather than risk it, I'm going to do this. Because it's very hard for me to find some of these trees. Clearly, I'm getting plenty of saplings of various colors, and that's good. They're being recycled into the system, planted, harvested, fertilized, etc. I'm going to take a moment just to make sure that this plants in all of the possible fields and put that in. Now, no quadrant of this is left empty. And we have ourselves a field which will plant and harvest saplings of all the various colors that I have listed here. Which will get me plenty of colored saplings, which then I can use anytime I need to, in various recipes to replace dye. So now let me come over here and see what... I do have 2 more colors worth of stained saplings that I can just feed into that system. And since I'm done with all this dirt, I can just toss it back into my AE system. So, there you are. This is... In this episode, you've seen me set up and configure the deep storage units attached to my ME network, set up crafting terminals, and, oh, hey, and there's an Enderman that I may have to hunt down right now. Just do this on camera. He's got an atomic bomb as a hat. Apparently, I need that as a hat. Ah, he teleported. Good, he came back. There we are. And there's 1 less Enderman in the world, 2 more Ender Pearls in my inventory, and apparently, I have a neat new hat. Though, with all of the hats that I have in my inventory, I have an awfully hard time finding the one that I might want. Let's see what that one was called. TARDIS. I like it. Wow, I've collected all. There we are. There's the one-man army hat. I think I'm going to wear that for a little while. I like it. I like it very much. So there we are, folks. Oh, it doesn't show it. Well, I'll have to go figure out why that is. Anyway, let me go back downstairs to my tree farm. And now we have ourselves a nice, neat, automated tree farm that will plant and harvest all of these trees. I do have one mild concern with it, and if it comes up, I should at least point out to you what the concern is before I sign off. This comes awful close to here, and if this blue tree grows and produces foliage, I may very well not be able to teleport down through my elevator system. And if so, I'll know what it is, and I'll just wait until the harvester finishes its job of harvesting that. But yeah, that's there's my automated planting and harvesting system, folks. I'll see you again next time.